Welcome! A lot of companies have a goal of creating an agile culture. Agile culture offers organizations the ability to respond to change quickly, become more efficient, create business value, and innovate to create bigger markets and happier customers. Sounds great, right? And why not? We see companies like Salesforce, Amazon, Facebook, Google, and Spotify thriving with this culture. But this culture does not come without some effort. In this video, we'll talk about agile culture, mindset, and behaviors. We'll also talk about the difference between doing agile and being agile. Agile culture requires a group of people who have a shared agile mindset. This is because a culture is shaped by people who have a common belief for that mindset. The mindset reflects our behaviors, and those behaviors are shaped by our practices. That's why, if we want an agile culture, we have to look deeper into what causes our behaviors. So what shapes our behaviors in organizations? Well, it's found in our values, principles, and the practices. Values and principles direct the operating model's ways of working. These guide our direction so that teams can make decisions that are aligned with the company vision. More importantly, values and principles help shape and set the tone for our practices and behaviors. If we don't have values and principles defined and aligned, this will lead to a culture of conflicts and friction between teams and team members. The Agile Manifesto is used by many companies as a starting point for values and principles. Now, these principles help us decide how we operate. It gives us an idea on specific practices and processes to take on to get our work done. There are many frameworks like Scrum and Kanban with a set of proven practices. We see innovation teams also adopt frameworks like design thinking, lean startup, and design sprints. At the beginning, when we start to use these practices to become more agile, we may not have the right behaviors or the right mindset. These need to change over time. Agile practices, when done well, will shape agile behaviors. You'll be surprised when people start working this way. They suddenly realize that Agile helps us become more human and becomes a natural way of working. And then suddenly they feel connected as a team, empowered to make decisions, trusted as a valuable contributor, and they feel like they're making a difference in the company. Imagine, just by delivering smaller pieces of work more frequently, teams will start seeing the benefits of fast delivery, including the feeling of having more energy and excitement of seeing work get done quickly. This fast delivery makes it easier for them to amplify their working rhythm and helps teams inspect and adapt faster than using traditional project management. When the success of fast delivery becomes apparent, our agile behaviors will start to grow. This invites teams to try more agile practices. Therefore, practices enable agile behaviors, and agile behaviors reinforce agile practices. As these behaviors strengthen, the power of agile shifts the mindset so that we begin to desire more agility. The organization becomes hungry for it. Our teams begin to expect to operate with more agility, causing a movement across all levels of the organization, from senior management to individual contributors. The key points are: Agile requires mindset, behaviors, and practices to thrive. These are framed by values and principles. For you to begin your journey of achieving an agile culture, be mindful that first you'll need to identify those values and principles that shape the culture that you want, and then begin to shift the mindset by incorporating new practices that reinforce agile behaviors. Ultimately, an agile culture is dependent on values, principles, practices, and behaviors. We often hear people say that in order to change our behaviors, we must change our mindset. But what is a mindset? Well, a mindset is simply a set of beliefs or a way of thinking that determines one's behaviors, outlook, and mental attitude. Why is mindset important? In order to drive transformation and cultural change in the organization, we must first change our mindset and how we view running our business, solving problems, and more importantly, how we interact and engage with individuals within the organization. Mahatma Gandhi once said, "You must be the change you want to see in the world." In other words, if you expect change in others, you must first change yourself. Change starts from within. One of the most powerful tools we have in leadership is to model the change we want to see in others. Agile is a mindset, simply a set of beliefs or a way of thinking that guide how we as individuals and organizations think and act upon the work that we do. An Agile mindset enables organizations to be more responsive to changing market conditions and customer needs. We think of Agile as a set of values, principles, and practices that allow individuals and organizations to accelerate their return on investment and to adapt to a changing market condition and also how to adapt to customer demand. Agile tools and practices are observable. You can see them. They only require cognitive intelligence to do Agile. If you were to watch a team planning their work, you would be able to visually observe the tools being used and practices such as seeing a Kanban board, a sprint planning event, or even looking at a product backlog. These are all observable tools, practices, and artifacts, but they're simply the tip of the iceberg. Just because a team is doing Agile, in other words, practicing Scrum events or using an Agile toolset, it doesn't mean that they're being Agile. In other words, getting the benefit and outcomes that being Agile delivers is much more powerful. In order for you to be Agile, you must delve deeper and beyond the surface to look beyond the simple tools and practices. Being Agile requires emotional intelligence. Tool sets and practices are only the beginning. In order for organizations and teams to be Agile and get below the surface of the superficial Agile, they must change the mindset and behaviors necessary to be Agile. As your organization and teams move through their Agile journeys over time, they will begin to make a shift in the mindset and move from the doing of Agile to being Agile. Some of this can be observed, such as seeing servant leadership at work, seeing interactions amongst employees and leadership, seeing customers collaborate with your teams. Yet, the being of Agile is not so apparent. Shared vision, motivation, simplicity requires a deeper level of engagement in order to be observed, and even then it may be difficult. Tools and practices are important, but to truly get the benefits of Agile within the organization and teams, mindsets must shift to a more Agile way of thinking. Remember, what we said earlier about mindset, if you expect change in others, you must first change yourself. Ultimately, the best results will be achieved when we are doing and being Agile at the same time. Changing our mindset is a conscious effort. It doesn't come for free. A growth mindset embraces challenge and change. It persists forward in the face of setbacks, and it sees an effort as a path to mastery or success. We learn from feedback and we find lessons of inspiration in the success of others. A growth mindset may be observed through individuals and interaction of others, outcomes such as working solutions, collaboration with customers, and responding to change in a way that ensures the best possible solution for the business and the customer. If you've only known one way to do something and you've had success doing it, you may be less reluctant or less open-minded to change. In contrast, this is what's known as a fixed mindset. This may be observed in ourselves by avoiding challenges. Maybe we give up easily, seeing the extra effort as fruitless, or we ignore feedback, or we might have the feeling of being threatened by the success of others. You may find yourself locked into current processes and tools, legacy ways of working, and avoiding customers, or even avoid following up on planning. Anything you can do to avoid changes. Remember what we said earlier about the mindset. If you expect change in others, you must first change yourself. We must role model making that shift from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. In fact, we must be able to take risks ourselves before asking others to take a risk. Here are some of the takeaways. Mindsets and how you act on them have a huge impact on the results you get and the results your teams will achieve with their Agile transformation. Your mindset is yours, and only you can change it with some effort and practice. And it's your role to create a growth mindset in the organization. Asking for and acting on feedback is an example of a growth mindset. And finally, if you expect change in others, first start by changing yourself. My name is Stacey Louie with Hyperdrive Agile. Thank you for joining me today.